And we are back. In the black community, the pursuit and maintenance of generational wealth has encountered numerous challenges. Now, according to a report, black workers face a median income that is approximately 30% less than their white counterparts. Joining me now is the CEO of Diverse Solutions and Credit Specialist, Ali Toure. And we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And when we talk about these numbers, obviously, we know that a lot of that is attributed to, bad credit, right? A lot of that is attributed also to a lack of access. And I know that what you do is really kind of like bridging the gap in that area to bring people both awareness and then also the access to get things right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so share a little bit about that.
I mean, I've been doing credit for about a little over 4 years. It's something I do full time. It's something I'm extremely passionate about, especially knowing that our people never really had the education, the proper education, to know much about credit. So this is something I do passionately, and I do it full time, and it's something I really care about because our people need the information.
Right.
And we know how important credit is. It's everything in America.
Well, now let me come back here because you said that we know how important credit is. I don't think sometimes everybody understands the importance of credit. So give somebody the breakdown of the importance of credit.
I mean, if you're gonna apply for an apartment here, everybody's gonna check your credit. If you're gonna go for a home, they're gonna check your credit. If you're trying to get a vehicle loan, they're gonna check your credit. Anything you're really trying to do, they're gonna check your credibility to see how risky you are. There's a lot of individuals that, are very risky, and then you have others that's not as risky. But for lenders to know that they can give you access to this credit or give you access to the building or a home, they have to check your credit to see if you're credible.
Right.
Yeah, it's all about risk factors.
And so when we find credit reports that are out there, talk about some common things that we see amongst people's credit these days.
The type of negative accounts I see on a daily basis, you have individuals that have bad credit card debt, charge-offs, so many late payments. You have people that have bankruptcies, repossessions. All of those things are things that can stop you from getting to where you need to be. Anytime a lender check your report and see that you have a charge-off or a bankruptcy, you consider a very high risk and nobody wants to lend to you. So those are some things that most people usually have. Evictions, all types of things that I see on a daily basis.
And we understand that bankruptcies stay on your credit report for 7 years?
11 years, 11 years, yeah. They stay on for a long time, very long time. Mm-hmm.
And they can pretty much have a lingering effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of the worst things you can have on your credit report. Mm-hmm. One of the worst things you can have on your credit report. It's not something that everybody do need. Sometimes people will go and try to, they'll go and say, hey, let me file a bankruptcy when they don't really need it. All they probably need to do is probably get a loan to see if they can take that loan off and pay off those balances that they do have and try to pay that loan off, little by little by little. Or they just, there's other ways around it, but people don't always need bankruptcies. Sometimes people take that way, but it's not always needed.
So as we look at credit right now and really the credit landscape, we know that there's a lot of things that's actually changed down through the years, right?
Yeah,
and
a lot.
so even very recently. So share with us a little bit about what's been happening that maybe we need to be paying attention to.
In regards to credit?
Yeah.
A lot of, in regards to the rates or what exactly?
Yeah, with regards to rates and stuff, we're seeing right now that, rates fluctuate, right? We also understand that, people end up paying more with these fluctuating rates.
Yeah, right now is definitely a time, especially nowadays with social media. I'm sure a lot of people are aware. A lot of people are they're showing the importance of credit. It's extremely important. The best thing right now to do, especially now because rates are very high, I tell people right now, it's the time to focus on building your credit, making sure that your credit, you're maintaining it, you're paying them on time, you setting a lot of things on auto pay. That's a big thing. I always feel like I've noticed a lot of people don't really set their things on auto pay because they tend to think that, if they do, they might wake up one morning and all the money they had in their account just came off. I tell people, set these things on auto pay. Let them at least take out the minimum payment due. Because since you're going to pay it anyways, why not put them on auto pay? You understand?
Right.
So these are things that people want to focus on. They even, work on bringing down your balances of your credit cards. Utilization makes up about 30% of your credit score. So those are some things you want to bring down to help you maximize on your credit score and increase your credit so that, when you're trying to go for anything, you can get the best rate as possible, especially going for a loan because the rates are high and they determine the rates of the loan is going based off your credit score and your credit report. So those are little things that you can do to maximize on your score so that you're able to get better rates on things you're trying to apply for and to save as much money as possible.
Yeah, last thing we talked about before we switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk to me about credit due date,
Uh-huh.
statement date,
Uh-huh.
right? Payment date.
Yeah.
Payment date, right? And then there's a statement date.
Yeah.
And I've heard the advice, it's better to pay it by the closing statement date
Yeah.
than it is by the due date.
That's absolutely true. It's always we know that, we have a due date every single month.
Right.
It's a due date every month that we got paid, but we don't realize that due date, usually 3 or 4 days before that, you have the statement date, and 3 or 4 days that you have the closing, you have the closing date, which you want to make sure you pay your cards by, make sure you pay everything by the closing date. Then a few days later is the statement date, you understand?
Right.
So they'll report it to the bureaus and say, hey, this is the balance that this individual have. So you want to make sure that your things are paid off before the closing date.
Right.
Make sure your balance you can call your lenders, credit, whichever one you have, Bank of America, Capital One, Discover, call them and ask them, hey, when is my reporting date, when is my statement date? And usually 3 or 4 days before that is the closing date.
Yeah. We hear a lot in Black and brown communities right now about this push to create generational wealth. Right?
Yeah.
And obviously, for so many families, that's a desire. But sometimes it seems like a mountain. Right?
Yeah.
So from your perspective, talk to me a little bit about generational wealth, because I know that's also part of your passion, what you really want to see people create.
I absolutely want to see people create general wealth. It's extremely important, and it's all about information, That's how I feel. I feel like it's all about information. Now that we have the proper information, it's time to implement and do what we got to do. Because now we can literally separate the wealth gap. Everything is there. Everything is there. And it all starts with credit. Because with credit, it's called equal lending opportunity. We all on the same page. There's no black, there's no white, there's no Hispanic, there's none of that. It's all numbers. What you have is what you have. You understand? So it all starts with credit. And the reason why I like it is because you have the opportunity to do a lot of things. You can go to the bank. Just say you have a business for quite some time. You're making some income. You can go to the bank and leverage the money from the bank. So now you can use that money to invest that money into your business, which can put you in a better situation instead of using money out your own pocket. You understand? Which is what a lot of people do to put themselves in better situations. But now that we have the information, we can go and do the same thing as well, which could, put us in a much better situation.
So what are some of the tools that I need for generational wealth?
What are some of the tools you need? I would say financial literacy. I say that's the key. Financial literacy is a foundation. Financial literacy is a key, and I stand on that.
Yeah.
Educate yourself on financial literacy, and then educate your family as well. Educate your kids, the ones that's coming behind you. Educate your peers, your spouse. Education is the key.
So when we talk about wealth, we talk about, obviously credit is going to be the key to helping to build that wealth. I'll go back for a second and talk a little bit about if I'm in a situation because I need to get my repair fixed or my credit fixed.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that's astronomical. I remember back in the day, years ago, when I first looked at my credit report, I just felt like it was overwhelming. I mean, now I have a totally different disposition, but I remember that first time it could be overwhelming for somebody. So what should they do if they find, hey, I need some work here because I may have a late payment here, I may have this here. How do I get things back on track?
All right. The thing about credit is a lot of people tend to feel, oh, I can't, I don't know if this can be fixed, if this is possible. Credit can always be fixed. Always, always. Because we got to understand there are a lot of errors and a lot of things that are on the credit report. The first thing you want to do is basically pull your report. You can go to annualreport.com, freeannualreport.com, get a credit report. It's free. You can get one every year. It's totally free. Get that. You can look at the way that the creditors are reporting it. So a lot of times they're missing certain information, or they have the wrong dates, or they don't have the proper balance. They don't have the correct balance. Or the date that's been open is completely different. Or the day's last activity is open, or your late payments are completely different. So there's a lot of different factors, and by law, everything should be reported completely accurately, meaning 100% accurately across the board. So a lot of times when you do look at your credit report, you see those errors, you can challenge it. You can attack it. You can send letters to the bureaus. Hey, this information is not correct. Would you guys fix it? If not, could you please delete it? Most of the times, they're not fixing it. They're gonna end up deleting it, and that can help you and put you in a better situation. So and I do provide the service as well, but I tell people they can fix it on their own as well. But just like taxes, people can do it on their own, but they won't do it on their own because they don't want to make a mistake.
Right.
You understand? It's the same thing with credit, but there are individuals that can do it on their own.
So for yourself who works in the industry, what challenges do you find these days?
Like with credit?
Yeah.
In terms of it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily deal with as many challenges. It's basically, the only thing I really did was me educating people, trying to change the mindset of individuals to know that you have to have good habits. Habits is key, it's everything.
Right.
These habits, whatever you do, it's gonna show. If you try to run off on this, so for me, it's trying to educate my people. Mm-hmm. Don't try to run off on Verizon. Don't try to run off on Opto. Don't try to run off on these guys and think that, you got away from them. Because they're not going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, you owe us $500. You owe us $200. They're not going to do that. What they're going to do, they're going to put it on your report. And now when you try to go do anything in the future, that's going to pop up and that's going to block you. You understand? So my challenge is really trying to educate my people and letting them know, like, hey, these are habits that you had in the past, but now you want to change up them habits. Mm-hmm. Have good habits because these things are going to follow you. It's going to make you.
When you have these conversations, right, I want to ask a question about receptivity because we're out here trying to, you're out here trying to let people know the way to go. But how open are people these days, particularly in this generation, to receiving information and then at the same time implementing it?
I mean, people, it all depends. You have some people that's not, you have those that are receptive to receiving the information. You have those that think they know it all. I mean, then you have those that do get the information implemented, which are the best people, you understand? But for me, the most important thing is to let people know, give them the information. What they decide to do with it is completely on them. But you do have individuals that take the information, implement it, do what they have to do. And now it's important because now they can teach the others in their household. They can teach their brothers, their sisters, pass on that same information. Right. Information is key, and we need it. So it's all about passing on the information. What they decide to do with it is totally on them,
You made a path yourself because you decided to be an entrepreneur,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And how has entrepreneurship changed your view as how you look at employment, all of that?
I mean, it's definitely not an easy route. As you guys know, it's growing rapidly. Entrepreneurship is growing rapidly, and it's definitely not an easy route.
COVID did something.
Yeah, COVID.
COVID did something.
COVID definitely did something because COVID done changed the ball game. People working from home. People's like, hey, I can't just depend on the job. Let me form my own business and things. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's the honest truth. Because people see the good things, they see this, but they don't see what's going on in the background. You understand? So it's definitely not an easy route. It's a very challenging route. You work your own hours. You're not dependent on anybody else. You gotta, everything you do is on you. Everything is on you. The whole business relies on you. So you're not dependent on, just working a regular job. So anything can happen. It's definitely not an easy route. But is it worth it? Absolutely. Right. But it's not easy. It's not for everyone.
Talk about getting the house in order, if you will. We only got a little bit of time left, but I want to talk about getting that house in order. Here we are. We're getting ready. March is right around the corner. Yeah. April is tax season. What are things that people should really be focused on right now so that way they can get into a positive first and second quarter?
Right now, people should definitely focus on saving money. If you don't have credit, build it, establish it. If you have, because a lot of people right now, I've noticed in a lot of people, their debt is very high, especially on their credit cards. Times are very hard. So if you do have high utilization, focus on bringing them down. Try to take out a loan to pay off that, whichever debt you have, and try to maintain it little by little, but make sure everything is on auto pay. I always emphasize auto pay is extremely important. And one late payment literally drops your score from 50 to 100 points. And that could be on your report for 2 years. No, it could be on your report for 7 years, but it doesn't affect you as much after 2 years. But you got to understand, within that 2-year time frame, people got things that they got to do.
Right.
And when lenders see that late payment, what do you think happens? They get worried. They say, whoa, oh my God, he's going through financial problems or something's starting to happen. So I always emphasize, focus on maintaining that credit, do what you have to do, and just, try to save as much money as possible. Try to save as much money as possible because times are hard. and it's only going to get tougher.
Yeah.
It's only going to get tougher.
If people want to get in touch with you, how they go about doing that?
If you want to get in touch with me, my Instagram is the Only Prince Ali, THE, Only Prince Ali, and my website is diverseSolutionServices.com. Yeah, you guys can get in touch with me there. I can answer any questions you guys have. And yeah, I'm here for the people. I'm here for our people. You know, it's our time now.
Yeah. Well, great talking to you. Great having you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
All right, we're taking a quick break. Have more here on the Social Justice Forums right after this.